Welcome to LBM Flash Moments with Phil Fernaro.
All right, hello everyone. This is Phil Fernaro, and this is LBM Flash Moments. This is our shorter episode, and today I think I'm going to keep it a little short because I think I've been talking a little bit too much lately. Let myself get away from the calm nature of the flash moments, but I have been getting good feedback on these because some people just like a quick hit as they're in the middle of their day. They didn't want to be developing these long episodes all the time. Although they listen to both, sometimes this is very refreshing. Anyway, I got my light bulb moment shirt. It's all about the energy and, of course, relationship capital. I don't know if that's backwards or mirrored or whatever, but that's okay. Actually, I probably should do that when I have this shirt on, but that's my light bulb moment. I'll fix it next time. Anyway, before I get into what we're going to talk about today, is that people that you tend to align with at a very, very extreme level, and where you have that extreme trust, and where you believe that every time you talk to that person, you feel like you're learning something, you're growing with them, you get light bulb moments, of course. They typically hang out with or surround themselves with similar people. So this was interesting. I learned this the other day, the other day when I was at an engagement party. I'm going to talk about that in a second. However, before that, I want to talk about my backyard because it just came to my head. I haven't done that, and by the time this episode comes out, I want everyone to feel what I felt. So I've been really busy at work, lots of light bulb moments, lots of growth with Bright and other things that we're doing. And this relationship capital is growing and growing. So I had a lot to do on a Sunday, but I looked at my backyard and I go, hmm, it's not how I want it. It's not perfect. And I love my backyard. It's like a smaller backyard, but I always put all my plants. I store my plants over the winter. I bring them out. And the cool thing about it is that I can do whatever I want with it. It's a fresh canvas each year. However, I have some consistency. This year, I asked for help. I never asked for help for weeds and this and that. And I had a great company come in and they cleaned it all up for me in advance so I could spend more time on the garden itself rather than worrying about weeds and so forth. My wife's been telling me this for years. But finally I listened. I'm a slow study, but that's okay. We got to this point. So I cleaned it up, and later in the day, that evening, I grabbed myself a drink and went outside, and I invited a couple people to come outside and look, and it was just glorious. It was this relaxing thing, and even though I didn't get all the work done I wanted to get done, this was perfect substitution for that. And if you can find something like that now for the last 7 days, if you can find something like that, that's great. That's important to you. But I like nature, just at least in my backyard. I like to look at plants and see how they grow, see how it can help them grow, and so forth. So the concept became that I enjoyed it immensely, and I can have reflection period, and I can put my phone away, and just relax for a little while. Anyway, try to do something like that for yourself. Spend a couple hours and do something that's important to you. Anyway, back to the engagement party, and what I'm talking about today, about this alignment with people and how they surround themselves with other people that are aligned. So I was my dear friend Tony Janiga. I've known him for 55 years. Yes, 55 years. Maybe a little less. We met when we were two and a half on our block in Elmhurst, Illinois. And, we've grown together through high school. We both went away to college and we came back and interacted. But our families, after we got married, they interacted, along with other people, like Tim Leahy, and many others, Don Manzo, Jim Aker, all these people they're like my friends from way, way back. And the interesting thing about all of this is that I find such great joy in our relationship that even when we were separated for a period of time, he moved to Lombard, moved to LaGrange. We didn't get to see each other all the time. But the important thing is that we continue to establish friendships. So it all culminated last night when we went to Tony and Jackie Janiga's son, Anthony Janiga, and he's engaged to Gabia. And his kids are awesome. And what happened is that I'm watching these people, and they surrounded themselves with awesome people. So I didn't know any of these people, and for the first time I met them, but it seems like if you have a great core group of friends or people that you connect with, or people that are just align with, they will align themselves with similar people. So I thought this was interesting. So I started thinking about this, and as I was driving home, and what happened was I I started reflecting on the fact that I have built all these relationships in college, in law school, and then eventually, after a while, I've been a lawyer. And what's interesting is that I have aligned myself and I've connected with people that are similar to Tony Janiga. And what's funny is that now when he comes to my events or when he's there, he gets to talk to these same people and he aligns right away and he talks to them and he interacts with them. So my point being is this doesn't have to be that hard. So if you have friends that you used to align well with, go talk to them again. Spend time when they have friend relationships, and you'll connect at that same level. And it's not going to say every single relationship is going to blossom. It's going to be the best relationship of all time. However, at least it's a good starting point. And as you know, I always like to play the percentages. So for people that are just starting out at that, people in the bright community that have not had success in establishing trusting and connecting relationships, it's time to go back and dive into and figure out where your percentages will be better. So I think this is a possibility. So I'm going to try it a little bit more. I'm going to go dive into friends that I really am connected with and say, hey, let's go out and hang out with some of your friends and see how that works. At least then you get this path and you could try it. If it doesn't work, I'm sorry, but I think it will. I think the chances are better. So as we talk about this, and this is what we're talking about with light bulb moments, and it doesn't always have to be back about light bulb moments, but it's this wonderful way to connect with people that are willing to connect with you. And I know we always talk about our bright community, but it's continuing to happen. So what we can do is that if we're going to increase the percentages, reach out to somebody that's a guest. Reach out to Tony Janiga, Tim Leahy. They'll embrace the conversation even if you don't know them. All you have to do is say, yeah, I heard you on Light Bulb Moments. Phil talked about you. Hey, what's going on in your world? So even though that seems awkward, I really don't think it is, because you'll have a better chance than just randomly going out to talk to people. It's going back to the concept of why do we form similar relationships? Because when we leave a relationship, not leave it, but separate ourselves from it, because life does happen, we crave that same type of relationship. So if I crave that relationship, I need to find that relationship to make myself feel better and to make myself connected in the same way. Doesn't mean we lost connection with the other person. It just means that it's on a pause and it's actually giving us an opportunity. So always look at some of these things when you separate from somebody that you really care about or align with or connect with. Just know that it's still there. It doesn't go away. It's still there for you. But because you separate from that person, and here's the light bulb moment, at least in my eyes, is that now I can go out and stretch myself to find more similar people that give me that same feeling as with the people that I don't see as much anymore. And so every time you go back to those people, like last night, I got to sit down with Tony's parents, his aunts, uncles, etc., and his brother Jason. You kind of like reconnect with those people again, and it's back to where it was. And now you have an opportunity for new people. So this is why the cycle is very interesting, and it hit me really hard last night. So so here's a couple things I want to tell you about too. Is that light bulb moments is my passion, my connectivity, my love for all of this. It's very important for our bright community to understand that this is what gives me joy. So it's funny when I go into new relationships. First, of course, you've heard me a million times. Listen to what they do, how they do, and then when it gets back to me, I like to talk about what I'm passionate about. They'll ask me a little bit about certain things. We'll get into family, friends, how we're connected, where are you from, all the good things, how, what kind of employment do you have, or you have a career, or are you doing something else? All that stuff sort of comes back to the point where is that that's superficial. It's important to understand, but it's a superficial level. What I found is that when I start talking about certain things, people are interested and they're not. And so if I'm talking about something I'm passionate about and the other person is looking at, around the other way, or, they don't see the passion in what I'm talking about. If I'm talking about light bulb moments, that's all I'm talking about. I love it. I, try to relate it. I talk about other people that have been on it, I try to connect them in my head. So the point is that if they're not seeing the passion, then they don't really care about it, and it's okay. Then that's not going to be necessarily the right person. However, it's very interesting when you're in this group that I talked about, where you're aligning yourself with people that are like you. They love your passion. They ask you more questions about your passion. I'm very careful too. If someone doesn't give me that feedback, doesn't care about light bulb moments or bright or Fernaro Law or whatever it may be, my family, it's okay. That's not the right connection, or maybe they're having a bad day or whatever. That's not a big deal. So what happens is, though, is once you release and give this passion and show how important it is to you, it's so very interesting. I love this. Is that they start opening up about what they're passionate about, and guess what? Then you have two people talking about what they're passionate about, or it doesn't have to be like crazy passion, but that what really drives them and why they're around. It's so important to see how that conversation develops and what connection you make. You eliminate the superficial and you get into the combined. So lead with passion during your conversation. Meaning, I'm not asking anybody to go crazy and tell them how passionate you're about baseball. From the very beginning, you got to sort of warm up to it. You warm up to any relationship. You sort of bridge. You have to figure out where that person and where you align before you start being vulnerable and talking about your passions. And it always has to come up in a simple format. And what's very interesting is that when I engaged with some of these conversations, they already knew about it. And why? Because Tim and Tony and Jackie and Esther, all these people that have been part of my life, know how passionate I am about it. So they tell these other people, they said, you should talk to Phil about his podcast. And it was like, I didn't ask him to do that, but they know that that makes me happy. And it usually makes other people happy to talk about it. So we got another few listeners last night, some new guests, give them an episode that you could try out. And, maybe that'll align. I said, hey, please give me some feedback. But the point is overall is that when your other people are talking about what you love, that means they appreciate the fact that you love it and they want to do whatever they can. These people that are extremely aligned and connected with me, they want to give me more opportunity to project myself when I talk about that. So I think that's really exciting, at least in my head. So what I do want to make certain is that this doesn't mean to go into easy relationships all the time. All I'm saying is play the percentage. I always talk about playing the percentages, and we talked about it a little bit today. Go into relationships that it'll be easier to convert other people. And those are the people that you spend time with. Convert those relationships. It'll give you some confidence. Then what's important is that as you build this understanding of what drives great conversation, what drives great relationships, you can then try it with other people that you may meet for the first time that are outside your circle of friends and the most important people that are aligned to you, those top 20 people, 5 people, 25 people, 50 people, 100 people. That's a funny thing. Yeah, go back and make a list of the top 100 people. It's really hard that align, but first start with 5, then start with 10 people that align with you the best. That the people that that's the person that you're going to call if you have your worst situation. So anyway, that's off track, but try to get outside of that cycle and expand it. So if you write down that you only have 5 connections that are like super, then first go to those 5 people and say, hey, can we meet some of the people that that I don't know? And expand it. And then every month, check your list and see where you are on your list of people that you consider to be part of your inner circle. You'd be surprised how fast it'll grow. And when you concentrate on it, it'll grow even faster because you're going to go, oh, I love this. I want to get more people involved. All right, and tomorrow we're going to get to talk to Josh Stamer from Anonymous Philanthropy. It'll give us more of a better perspective of how to give. And it's kind of funny, it aligns with what we talked about today, is that you don't just give money because you want to give money. You have to give your time, your effort, your money based on what drives you. So if you're aligned with a charity and what they're about, you're more apt to give them your energy. And that's what's really important about the episode. So we talk about entrepreneurial philanthropy. We talk about how generational wealth is changing things. So there's a big amount of money that's being transferred from the baby boomers and Gen Xers and into millennials and Gen Zs and whatever the current generation is. So just make sure that you pay attention to how this affects you because this money's coming in and you want to be aligned with your family. But we'll talk more about that. We'll know that philanthropy has more outlets than you can imagine. So think about this. Get ready for tomorrow and we'll see everyone tomorrow for another positive day of illuminating thoughts and light bulb moments. Stay bright, everyone.